has been sold a lie that our nation's identity is and should be multicultural, and especially Australia has been sold this. And what these countries are forgetting is how powerful they used to be. Come on, you used to be an empire, and why is the West burning? Fuck off. No, you're not. You are not speaking for me. Because division, we've said this before, I'm saying it again, division at the end of the day is power. What we've been saying is happening in the West, like in Western countries, and correlating it back to North Korea, who, really rules countries and the world. And at its baseline, Alright guys, welcome back to another weekly rant. This is becoming a regular thing, guys, because there is so much shit going on right now, and let's just cut through it all, just cut through the bullshit that we're all hearing and get into it. So I gotta make sure that I remain calm, because I get frazzled and I watch this back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just frazzling and just rambling. So let's keep calm throughout this. But the first thing that I want to start with is the West is burning. Okay, the United States, Canada, Germany, the UK, France, Spain, what else? Italy, Ireland, Switzerland, Australia, keep going, New Zealand. We're all facing mass immigration and quite similar problems. And what these countries are forgetting is how powerful they used to be. The UK, for example, the United Kingdom. Remember who used to be, guys? Come on, used to be an empire in what? The 1920s. They ruled a quarter of the world's population at the time. And we can get into, they had globalistic tendencies, but that's not the discussion I want to have today. I want to have the discussion of Britain. You're not some useless third world country. Protect your country. You have the ability to. And I know a lot of people in the UK are remembering that and are bringing that to fruition. So as a whole, stop acting like you're useless. Okay, you have to remember what you used to be. And also, all Western countries as a whole, we're pretty, generally safe countries. That's why tourists love to visit. That's why people living in Western countries are, generally pretty happy, because we're generally pretty wealthy per capita. Which brings me to the baseline for the first question. Why is the West burning? Well, to answer that, I guess we got to answer this one question. Who is benefiting? And to answer that one question, we have to find out who controls. And I think if you're watching, this channel, I think you'd be on the better side of YouTube. I'm probably knows who, really rules countries and the world. And at its baseline, it's a globalist group that puppets politicians and presidents and prime ministers to push their globalist agenda. Think the UN. Which brings me to how these controllers are benefiting. Well, it really just comes down, to power and using money as a tool to gain power. And that's what I've definitely noticed, is that a lot of people in the West are starting to speak up and speak out against governments, starting to notice corruption. Perfect example is Charlie Kirk. They're speaking out by using clear logic, by promoting, putting their country first and putting the people of their country first. So when people start speaking out and starting to have more independent thoughts, and I think that has to do with social media a lot, away from the mainstream, but when people start thinking for themselves, it's a lot harder to control, and it's a lot harder to make money off. And having the people of a country wanting to know every money trail, wanting to fire politicians that make a deal that benefits them on the side, well, it's unfavor to these globalists. But who is easy to control? Well, that would be the people who don't have rights. That would be the people who live under corrupt governments that, they can't speak out for decades. And that would be the people who are making pennies per hour. So third world nations, which is exactly why we're experiencing mass immigration in Western countries, and that's in my opinion, okay? And mass immigration equals more votes to a politician's name. So prime minister's name. So even more incentive. And also something else that has to do with this plan is division, because the number one things that these globalists who are in power hates is people who promote unity, within their countries, people who are nationalistic and promote sovereignty. So that's exactly why these globalists want division, because division, we've said this before, I'm saying it again, division at the end of the day is power, which is exactly why we're seeing this left versus right battle being just extremely hostile right now. And also, just the thought that I've been having over the past couple of weeks is this. We're all sort of falling victim to about this division play. And sometimes I gotta remind myself when I'm doing these daily like news videos about current events, I always like, and I'm like working on it as well. I'm not excellent at doing this because it's hard to not fall into these globalist plans because they've been doing it for, you know, decades and centuries really. And back to what I was saying though, when I was doing these daily videos, I always like try to remember that the people getting online, people getting into arguments with the other side of politics about, you know, that mediocre shit that you're just like, come on guys, like what the fuck are you talking about? And honestly, just silly things. That is the division that they're promoting. And it's difficult sometimes, like I said before, you know, to remember that because it's someone that is most likely, you know, on the left who is saying keep migrants in and push Pauline Hanson out. And it's a bit difficult to not get annoyed and be like, what are you talking about? Like, and voice your opinion, because obviously if we want to keep migrants in, you know, that wouldn't benefit our nation. And if you want to fight for your country, like sometimes you think that by responding to all of these things that the left does is the fight that you should be having, which sometimes it absolutely is. But other times, you know, it's exactly what these globalists want. They just want us to always be like, at each other. So then this division comes out to play. And they want us to get it caught up, you know, hating each other and hating the other side so they gain more power. But that's just a thought. Now, let's talk about what happened at Pauline Hanson's private event last week. Yes, all of these lefty protesters were spreading, you know, just gross things. Like they were saying death to, I think someone said death to Pauline Hanson, which was absolutely disgusting. Political violence, foul. So honestly, just disgusting things that they were saying. But they caused the event to be cancelled. It wasn't cancelled. I'm pretty sure it was moved. But it's just a destruction of free speech altogether. Because everyone should be able to get out there, voice their opinions. We did a short form on that, so check it out if you want like a more in-depth dive onto that. But everyone should be able to voice their opinions. Okay, if as soon as it's like what the government's doing at the moment with these hate speech laws. As soon as someone says, you can't go and protest on the streets because I don't like your opinion, then it's like, well, how do you know who's in power next time won't like your opinion, then you won't be able to protest. So it's a bit of a thing, but anyway, they did that. Check out the short form if you want more in depth on it. But I'll just pop on the screen this guy. Okay, I might roll the video somewhere in this. I'll have to clip myself out. But this guy got arrested, and I'm presuming most likely for hate speech. I haven't looked at the, you know, arrest and what's happened to him, but I'm going to presume that it's most likely hate speech, which I won't put in the sound of what he said because YouTube will probably censor me for the things that he said, but go watch it on Instagram or something. They should be on some sort of news source. But I would make a good bet that this guy is a paid actor. Okay, in my opinion, I would put money on this guy being paid by Labour, being paid by the Greens, being paid by the Socialist Party, any of them, to go to one of these events and present to the public that this is what One Nation is stoking, which is stupid. Okay, I'd also say that in my opinion, 99.9% of all One Nation supporters would not agree with this guy. Absolute scumbag, okay? But this is the division that we're talking about yet again. The left wants you to believe that this is what One Nation promotes, which Pauline Hanson has come out, I think, a week prior to this, and also in response to this, saying that she was first, you know, concerned about extremists flocking to One Nation, and then she said, basically, you know, she didn't accept the actions that this extremist took. So this is not what normal people who support One Nation, like me and a lot of other people, this is not what we support. And I also did not like it when he said that, you know, he was sort of speaking for One Nation supporters. Like, fuck off. No, you're not. You are not speaking for me. I do not support that. I know a lot of other people who support One Nation would not support that. And also, you know, One Nation's aware of that. Okay, I think it becomes a problem when, you know, the political party themselves, the politicians within that party, promotes what the extremists are saying. That's when it becomes a problem. But the extremists in every party, you just have to look past them and be like, you're a fucking idiot. And another thing that I've been like noticing about this week is, you know how a lot of people just like call anyone on the right, no matter how woke you may be on the right, they'll just call you racist regardless. They'll just call you, you know, the name of people who ruled Germany in the 1940s. They'll call you that word. I can't say it for YouTube reasons. They'll censor me. I know it sounds stupid when I have to explain it like that. I don't like to, but you know, they'll just come out and call you these names. But guys, this is where I get annoyed because they're just words. Like, I know I'm not those things. So why would I get offended if someone said it? I know, and the people around me know, and you guys know it's not true. So at the end of the day, like, these words are simply just words, and you get to decide whether they should resonate with you or not. So why would we get offended when the left, or anyone really, just tries to tear us down by lumping us in with those horrid groups like the people who used to rule Germany in the 1940s, when we know that isn't what we believe in and simply isn't true? Let's not let them like try to tear us down by lumping us in with those other groups. We know we're not that. We know it's not true. They're just fucking words. Okay, now let's move on to mass immigration. Okay, show me any country where it has worked. It doesn't. Mass immigration does not work. People who believe that it does has been sold a lie that our nation's identity is and should be multicultural, and especially Australia has been sold this, which is not true. It's not. It's a complete and utter lie, and I can talk to you for hours on end of the reasons why it is a lie. However, here's a quick overview. Okay, British settlers came to this nation and built it. Therefore, Australia holds an evolution of British Western culture. So after the British settled, sure, okay, other cultures came to Australia. However, that was when the British was the majority, and other cultures could migrate to Australia and not take over. That was never a multicultural national identity. We were one nation and with an Australian identity. So people were sold a lie. We were never multicultural. Let's fucking stop with that. We weren't, okay? We were founded by British settlers. We're an evolution of British Western culture. Baseline. Jesus Christ, let's stop being taught that. It's fucking lie. And adding to this, we're continuing to hear this like, multiculturalism is Australia. It's not. That's the problem at its core that we need to solve. And you know what? You know what's just fucking pissing me off? This is just completely off topic, right? We're talking about Australia. We're talking about who rules the world. We're talking about, mass immigration. And this is completely off topic. This might not make much sense, but I just got to say it, okay? All of these celebrities that are coming out, all of these wealthy individuals, which is fine to be, but all of those people coming out promoting mass immigration, promoting trans, woke agendas, they will never be affected. They are guarded by 24/7 security. All they're doing is stand on their pedestals, saying their talking points, virtue signaling to the public. Look at me, I'm holier than thou. But the people who will be affected? It's the everyday people. It's the ordinary citizens. It's our future generations, so our kids. It's the women walking alone on the street, at night and feels unsafe because mass and illegal immigration is running rampant. Those are the people who are fucking affected. Okay, so I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all these celebrities, including recently Ariana Grande was throwing a fit over Trump using her song in an ICE deportation video. Stop it. All you're doing is endangering people who don't have 24/7 security, people who are not protected, the majority of people, ordinary people, you are endangering them. You're endangering us. So fucking stop it. And now, guys, completely off topic again. This is a rant. This is just what I've noticed over the past week and what I've been looking into over the past week. But another thing, I was just weirdly, I don't know, just some interest last night in North Korea. I don't know. I just wanted to. I really like researching stuff, and I was just like, what is going on in North Korea? Who's been there? What Western person has been there? What is it like? But anyway, I was interested in that for some reason last night, so I did some research, did a bit of digging, and I found some really good YouTube videos. And I came across this lady who I've known before. I think I saw her on Joe Rogan's podcast, but I've seen a couple of her things. However, I got to this video, and at the end, I've never watched it before. Okay, and she's been saying what we've been saying is happening in the West, in Western countries, and correlating it back to North Korea. But we've been saying this about, division, about hate speech laws. And I mean, she knows what a dictatorship is. So I'll just put a clip of that video in here.
Tell me more about the problems that you see with America, with politics and what's happening.
First, this division that people have, right? In North Korea, they say spies are everywhere. That they divide, make us that we do not trust each other. And that's how the dictators win, when people are divided. And I see that American people are so utterly divided. And they say such things like there's no room for hate speech. And that's so dangerous because who decides what is hate? And if the government decides what is hate, right? So it's America is choosing this path where it's gonna end up like authoritarianism, and I think people are so misled here, and that's why I mean last year I was like going through the looting here, and everything became race, and I don't even know that this disappointment and shock that I found being in America is like endless.
So do you think the U.S. has similarities now with North Korea?
So much.
So, I mean, you know, there you have it. We have division. Who defines what is hate? The government does. And that is exactly what we saw at this One Nation event protest. The extremists on the right got arrested. Yes, it was spreading hateful things. However, why didn't the left extremists get arrested? As well as for things saying like death to One Nation. Why didn't they get arrested? The government is defining what is hate and selecting when to act. Ugh. And on top of that, those protests were like an extreme form of division. So that's kind of a perfect like example of what we're sort of saying here. And just adding to this, I know a lot of people would go like, wow, that's a big jump. Like talking about Australia compared to North Korea, you know, that's a big jump. A regime won't take over here. And if it does, it won't happen for ages. I wouldn't be so sure of that. And also, like, wouldn't you just rather keep speaking about the patterns that you like are noticing and that do correlate back to an authoritarian regime? Wouldn't you just want to call them out now before it even creeps into something more widespread? Because I mean, go through it. Like, we do have tendencies and patterns in this country that does directly reflect what dictatorships and authoritarian regimes act out. So, my goodness, we sort of jumped all over the place in this video. I have no idea what this thumbnail is going to be. It's going to be like a bit of everything. We're talking about the West burning, and then we're talking about North Korea, talking about protests. But God, let me know, guys, if you want me to continue doing these rants. It feels a bit odd because I know I listen to people all the time, like these sorts of podcasts, of just people just, you know, taking stuff from their head, just saying anything. And I really enjoy this podcast, but when I do it, I'm just like, who would want to listen to me ranting like this? Like, who would want to listen to this? So if you guys like listening to it, please let me know and I'll keep doing some more videos like this. Or if you're like, shut up, you need some structure, I'll do a more in-depth like dive into something like we do in our investigative series. So just let me know what you're enjoying. Make sure you give us a like, make sure you leave your comments down below, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Thanks, guys.